Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Sean Holko, alongside my guy, Mr. Jaevon, Toddy, Garry Singh, and Kevin Den are unable to join us tonight as they're both busy working. But Toddy, we are joined by a recurring guest, a very special guest, and especially on today's episode, we had to get his perspective on Jason Kelce's retirement. None other than Kaz Johnson of KazzyBear TV is joining us here on the program. Kaz, thank you for joining us once again. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, man, as always, thank you for having me. And it is a very sad day to be an Eagles fan, but one of those situations where we kind of been slowly but surely preparing for it. So it's time to, I don't want to say, face the music, but just to get through it. So.
Definitely. Toddy, how we doing today? I see that beautiful Niners puffer jacket.
Yes, sir. Always representing. It's been a little cold in Sac. I don't know. This past couple of days, weather's been weird, but excited. Kind of curious to see what Cass thinks about where this Eagles offense will lead. Won't be able to. Is the tush push an automatic 3 yards, 2 yards now? We'll hear that first from Cass Johnson, but a lot of cool things to talk about. We saw Combine, Russ got released today, which was we knew that was going to happen, but it was a matter of when. So a lot of good topics we got.
Well, Kaz, Kevin is live in the YouTube comments. He says, hell yes, the tush push is still an automatic with the retirement of Jason Kelce and Salvador Gonzalez. He's not too happy about it. He says, Toddy's happy as hell. And he says, I knew it, damn it. Well, so Kaz, obviously our guy Kevin says, hell yes, the tush push is still automatic. But what do you think? Because Kevin says, tell him about Cam Jurgens.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I think that the respect that a lot of opposing teams the respect I have for Jason Kelce when it comes to I'm not going to call it the tush push. Okay. It's the brotherly shove. All right.
There it is.
Yeah. When it comes to the brotherly, I ain't saying that tush push shit. When it comes to the brotherly shove, Jason Kelce, he's mic'd up in one of the previous games. And he says, you know what's coming to the defender. All right. I don't know if Cam's going to step in and be able to do it that confidently. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But I do think it's going to be successful. I think that us having Cam Jurgens there, and who else we got there? We got Landon Dickerson and, just all the guys on the line. We're still going to be a force to reckon with. We still have Jalen Hurts back there, Mr. as often as we've heard this all season long, Mr. 600-pound squatter. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. So as long as they don't ban the tush push or the brotherly shove or whatever you want to call it, we should be fine. I think that what's going to happen is more teams are going to slowly but surely start to perfect it as well. It's too automatic of a play. And it's not that we have this special secret recipe to execute it. We just have done it longer than other teams to where we can confidently do this. You saw it a few times, I believe, last year with like Josh Allen and the Bills. I think they tried it a few times and were successful. A couple other teams were successful with it. It just didn't look as immaculate as when the Philadelphia Eagles did it. So I don't think the tush push or the brotherly shove is going to go anywhere. I think we'll still be great at it. We got young guys on the offensive line, and even though Kelce is gone, the guys that we picked as a replacement, specifically Cam Jurgens, that's a miniature Kelce. So I don't expect things to change when it comes to the brotherly shove.
All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And for those of you who may be living under a rock, who may not be a Swiftie, Jason Kelce, Travis's older brother, retired from the NFL today officially. It was announced about like a month ago by Adam Schefter and all the big news guys that he would be retiring. The official news didn't come out yet until a scheduled press conference today. In the front row, you have Travis, Donna, I believe Ed is the father's name. The whole no Taylor, no Taylor, but the whole Kelce family were there in the front row to see Jason give his retirement speech. And I admittedly only have made it through half of it. I was watching the whole uncut version of it via one of the news stations in Philadelphia who streamed it on YouTube. And the reason why I wanted to see the uncut version is the first version that I clicked on was from the Pat McAfee show where they just went live into it. And you didn't get to see all the different times that Jason had to pause because he was about to start weeping right there in front of everyone. And I will say that even though I only made it through half of his speech so far until I had to depart my home earlier, man, that got me really emotional. And also, I will say, as a big J journalist, I hope to be at least one day, someone with a journalism degree, that I was so impressed with how well written his formal statement was. And I was
You
just,
think he wrote it?
I've always been impressed. What did you say, Toddy?
I said, you think he wrote a statement? You don't think somebody else wrote it for him?
Oh, he definitely wrote that. I think he definitely wrote it because it had the nuances of like the personal touch, at least in my opinion. But it was just very well written, and so props to Jason Kelce for that, and also on an amazing career. And so before we get into the whole discussion about Jason Kelce retiring, I wanted to mention a comment, and we got our guy Kevin in the YouTube comments, busy at work, and so he could definitely voice his opinion on this as well. We want to hear from you, Kevin, as well as we hear from Kaz. But I also wanted to mention what my friend Matthew Pearson said, because my friend Matthew Pearson, he is a very diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. And I just asked him, what's your reaction to this happening? And what Matthew said, and I quote, worst week of all time, with 2 crying emojis, but I completely understand it. And so Philadelphia Eagles fans are completely going through it right now, understandably so, because a legend retired. But Toddy, I'm going to toss it to you first for the unbiased perspective on it. Just what do you think about the career and the legacy of Jason Kelce?
He was drafted by the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 6th round pick.
Yep.
So I think
Just like your guy.
just going around the league from everybody.
Brock was 7th round pick.
Oh, 7, my bad.
Just going around the
Mr.
league,
Irrelevant.
everybody else was kind of reacting to it. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, his resume kind of speaks for itself. Multiple time, all league, multiple time Pro Bowler. I mean, just a class act pretty much. All of his teammates loved him. You could see how basically the whole organization felt about him. People around the league, how they felt about him, and just he was just a stand-up guy, and pretty much just was one of the best at his job. So I think he'll probably be in Canton I think he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like as soon as he's like ready, eligible, he'll probably be one of those guys. Like, hey, it's about that time. So don't really have too much to say because I don't really watch linemen, specifically centers, but I'm not breaking down film on centers and chop blocks and all that stuff. But I mean, his resume is definitely up there with just anybody that's in the Hall of Fame. So I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But definitely, I thought he was going to retire last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of after how everything went, but then he was like, I'm gonna run it back one more year or so. And then even after this year, there was a lot of speculation on whether he was gonna come back or not. But I think he's like 39, like he's kind of up there in age, and
He's a little younger than that. He's
like 30.
I believe he's 36.
Okay, so he's kind of he's up there in age.
Still up there.
I didn't really see like a drop off on him, like his production or anything like that. He was I think he was still a Pro Bowler this year. So I mean, he definitely still could have played for another 2-3 years. But I feel like when you're a lineman and when your body's kind of deteriorating, you're the only person that could really say, hey, do I want to go on for the next like 3 years and be not as high level as I once was, or do I kind of just call it quits right before he kind of sees it coming. So hats off to Jason Kelce, or I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, or how he really they said that they don't.
It's one of the two.
Yeah. So but I definitely think that when his time comes to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, when he's eligible, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Kaz, 13 season with the Eagles, Super Bowl champion, 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first team All Pro. How do you, as an Eagles fan, sum up the career and legacy of a Jason Kelce?
Well, I think Toddy said it best. He's a Hall of Famer. Probably first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. Definitely one of, if not the greatest Philadelphia Eagle to ever suit up. I tweeted a string of tweets after I saw the news this morning, and I was like, man, like, where do we rank Jason Kelce amongst, Philadelphia Eagles greats? Is it top 5? Is it top 3? Just to kind of get people's opinions. And somebody made a good point. He's like, man, I break it down like this. Dawkins is my guy on defense, and then Jason Kelce is my guy on offense. And I was like, when you look at it from the outside in, it's like, what does it mean to be a Philadelphia Eagle? What does it mean to be, a leader on a team like the Eagles? Like, who is that guy?
Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, and it ain't Donovan McNabb. it ain't McNabb, bro. It is a guy like Jason Kelce. I mean, that city, and this is coming from somebody who's not from Philadelphia, but I've been there a couple times, and I'm talking that guy could probably walk through the hood and be fine. It sounds crazy, but you know what I mean? Like dead ass, like that city rocks with Jason Kelce, and it is not a joke.
100%.
That man is the mayor of Philadelphia. And before him, it was guys like Brian Dawkins who really wore that grit. You know what I'm saying? Like bone on bone, skin on skin. Like Brian Dawkins is tough as nails, tough as they come. Kelce is right there with them. With him retiring, it's one of those things where I'm like, it sucks. But at the same time, we've seen a lot of guys retire even when they're at the peak of their game. Jason Kelce was still at the peak of his game. He finished on top. He was still probably the best center in football, and if he wasn't one, he's probably 2. The Philadelphia Eagles as a team, they rallied behind him. I mean, losing Jason Kelce, I can go on and on about how scared I am moving forward when it comes to having a leader like that. Not only for the Philadelphia Eagles, but to have a leader like that in the NFL. That guy he's respected by the other 31 teams tremendously. He's a stand-up guy. He's a badass center. He's a phenomenal athlete. His story is amazing. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's X amount, Pro Bowler, first team All Pro. What more do you have to say? I mean, this is like he's a top tier. He's a Kobe Bryant caliber player retiring from the NFL. You know what I mean? He's one of the best to ever do it, to ever suit up and to play that position. And he'll be missed, but I respect his decision. I was hoping that he'd come back for another year, but I think, like Toddy said, he thought he was going to be done last year. I did as well. I think that last year was the last hoorah. And as much as we, as Eagles fans, was hoping that he was not going to retire this year because there was still some promise going in next year, I think we'll be fine. I think that respectfully enough, we got to respect his wishes and just let him go. So.
And I want to give a shout out to my guy Rakeem, because he is also a really big Philadelphia Eagles fan. And he says in the YouTube comments, one of the greatest Eagles players to suit up was the heart and soul. It's a big loss. And I completely agree with that as a 49ers fans, because I could see the impact that a Jason Kelce had on that team. And Salvador says, only center that I've seen to pull on a run and pancake 2 defenders.
Bobby Boucher.
Right. And I was thinking about earlier when we talked about not the tush push, but the brotherly shove. And it was so automatic. It seemed like that. It reminds me, and I never played a down of football in my life. Like, I played flag football when I was a kid, but my mom was so concerned about head injuries that she never let me put on the pads as much as I wanted to when I was a kid. But so because I've never played it down, like, I can only really equate things to Madden. And like when I play Madden, and I know this is probably a terrible comparison, but when I think about the brotherly shove, I think about the fullback dive in Madden, where whether if it's a 2-point conversion or you need a yard or 2 just to get a first down and it's 4th down or whatever, the fullback dive, like just straight up the middle, no nonsense or anything. Just straight up fullback dive, and especially when you have a fullback like Kyle Juszczyk playing on the 49ers, it's almost foolproof. And, that's what the brotherly shove seemed to be. But, Kaz, I wanted to ask you more so about the first half of Jason Kelce's career, because he seemed to get a lot of scrutiny, and this is just me or just catching up on the past because I wasn't as locked in on Philadelphia Eagles news and content 5-10 years ago when he first started in the NFL. But it seems like from the outsider's perspective that Jason Kelce faced a lot of adversity and slander and criticism when he first came into the league and was playing for the Eagles. And so could you just take us back to that time, Kaz, and how was he able to transition into the legend that he is today?
He said it best in his press conference. This is a tough city to play for because the city fucking cares. You can't come to Philadelphia and half-ass shit because the fans let you know. They're gonna boo you. They're gonna let you know you're not doing your job, and they're not satisfied. And I think that Jason Kelce did a good job early in his career when it came to him becoming who the center that he is or was today. He accepted that 100% with no excuses. So I think that with him not being, I mean, he was never a bad player, but he was heavily criticized for a lot of reasons. I mean, when he was drafted, he was undersized. In college, I believe he was drafted to be like, what was he, like was he a tight end? I don't know. He was drafted. He wasn't a center. He wasn't a lineman at all. I want to say he was like a tight end.
He mentioned it in the press conference today, and like I am just drawing a complete blank because
Yeah,
he
me
talked
too.
about how when he was at Cincinnati, that it was his strength and conditioning coach that was the one who was like, "Hey, you would probably make a really good center." And he said that he never thought about ever doing that, but he said that it obviously changed his life for the better. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna try to let me do some quick research.
Look that up real quick. But all I know is like with him coming in and facing, you know, the adversities that he did, the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, even back at the time, I mean, like we weren't making Super Bowl runs. You know, we weren't a force to be reckoned with. I mean, yeah, we'd battle out and we got a couple division wins, but like we weren't. What'd you find?
Okay, so according to Sportskeeda, it says he started his college career as a running back, and after redshirting his rookie season, you saw the reaction when I read running back.
Yeah.
But after redshirting his rookie season at Cincinnati, he moved on to play at the position of a fullback. Then as an offensive lineman and a guard. Yeah. And Kelce's sophomore season saw him starting on the team as a left guard for the team.
Yeah, so I was like either tight end or fullback. I couldn't remember, but yeah. But I mean, the guy has. I'll explain something because I know you said yourself that you've never played football because of, you know, your mom's decision to not have you go out there and make your brain scrambled eggs. But as someone who played in high school and I, you know, attempted to play in college, I will say this: that's hard to do, man. I mean, you play your pee-wee football, usually the same position, then you go into junior high, then you go into high school. Usually, you play probably the same position or close to that position. For Jason Kelce to in college at the Division I level, so it's like. You came in and, you know, saying you're a running back. Okay, I don't even want to know how you got recruited for that or what happened there, but apparently he's a running back.
Well, and he walked on.
Or
right?
okay, so walked on. Okay, either way, you're a running back, and then you're a fullback, and now you're retiring as one of the greatest centers of all time. That's just resilience. That's just literally you accepting whatever is put in front of you and attacking it, you know, 110%. I think him coming in. Already having going through that in Cincinnati and probably even before that, whatever he did in high school in you know previous years, he's tough as nails. So he just adjusted. He took on the adversity, and he made the best out of whatever was put in front of him, and that led to him becoming a very good center and having a very successful career. So, I mean, early years, the Eagles as a team, like I said, we weren't really a force. We had a couple good seasons, but we were going back and forth between, I believe. Washington got a division win within there somewhere. The Dallas Cowboys obviously did. We went back and forth with them. I think we got a couple of them, but like nothing too crazy. It's not like it was from 2011 to 2017 when we won the Super Bowl that the Eagles were just this problem and it's because of Jason Kelce. No, we were a pretty average team for the most part. Maybe a playoff contender a playoff hopeful, but that's about it. No significant Super Bowl runs, a couple years where we've looked solid, but had some short upcomings. But I will say when it comes to Jason Kelce, how he transitioned from where he was at becoming an Eagle, you know, the 6th round pick to where he is today. That right there is what we as Eagles fans like love, seeing that consistent growth. He has always had a no nonsense type attitude since the beginning, since I can remember. He's never made an excuse. If we sucked, he'll say we fucking sucked. What do you expect? We're out here. We're calling the wrong plays. You know, saying I'll miss some blocks. You know, and I'm a big accountability guy. I love being held accountable, and I love it when, I mean, you guys know I coach track and field at the high school level. I love when my kids hold themselves accountable. It's huge. Jason Kelce is the definition of accountability. So, yeah, I mean, kind of a slowish start for him, and hard work and perseverance put him where he is today. So,
and Toddy, as Rakeem says on YouTube, that's facts. They thought he was undersized to play center when he was first drafted. And so, Toddy, did you want to jump back in here?
I was trying to figure out. So he got drafted in 2011. So he didn't play for Andy Reid. Did he play with Chip?
No,
he
I think he played his first year for Andy Reid, right, Kaz?
Yeah. So he played with Reid. I believe it was 1 year, and then Kelly was 2012 because we had the dream team was. Shit, I can't remember what year that was.
Oh my God, the dream team with Nnamdi Asomugha?
Was that 2011? I think it was 2011. Yeah, 2011.
2011 or 2012. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was 2012.
And that was not Chip Kelly. Yeah, that was not Chip Kelly. That was Andy Reid
Kevin
for
Cobb
sure. So
was the guy.
Oh my God, Kevin Cobb.
We had Vince Young,
Okay.
Vince Young, and
Sal says it was 2013.
2013.
Was that when it was? Okay, I was gonna say I knew it was around that time, but I don't think it was.
Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson,
Oh,
Shady McCoy. Yeah, they had a squad.
I thought it was 2011 for some
Selleck.
reason, but maybe not.
Because I remember, I think 2011
okay.
was the year when
Sal says 2012. You're right.
Okay, I didn't think it was 2013 or
because it was either 2011 or 2012 when Andy Reid was on the Chiefs and they had Alex Smith and the Colts came back. They had that crazy ass comeback. So I remember that was like around that time.
Yeah.
Well, and part of Kelce's press conference today is he really like went through his entire career, and Rakeem also says 2011. So somewhere between 2011 to 2013, because Sal says because 13 was with Foles. So yeah, 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. But today in his press conference, Jason mentioned the fact that he got the call from Andy Reid on draft day as a 6th round pick, but he also mentioned that he will never forget the day when they were in training camp and Andy Reid's son passed away, and he was walking out of the dorm that they were staying in, and there was paramedics rushing in, and he tried to stop and say, "Hey, can I help? Like, what's going on?" And the coach just told him, "Hey, go to practice." And they found out later that day that Andy's son had passed away. And I was really entranced. And again, I only got to an opportunity to listen to the first half. When we're done with this podcast is probably what I'm going to listen to the second half of what he had to say. But I was just really entranced by everything that Jason had to say in his press conference and the legacy that he now leaves behind. Kaz, before we move on to Russell Wilson not cooking, did you have any final thoughts on the career of Jason Kelce as an Eagle and just the legacy he leaves behind in that city, as you mentioned?
Yeah, I also want to mention one thing too about something he said in the press conference, which I felt like was a jab. I'm not sure if you saw the clip or not, or if you got this far, but I'm a big fan. He's probably my favorite current Eagle right now, if not number one, number two. I'm just a big fan of the guy. But Darius Slay all season long has been on his podcast, and he's been saying some things about, like, you know, not necessarily like not taking, you know, responsibility for like the Eagles playing bad on defense like we did all season long and things like that. But he's been like, you know, making some comments like, you know, I had like 8 tackles this game. So I mean, I was good. He's been doing a lot of that stuff while we've been losing, and it hasn't been a good look. But at the same time, you know, we got fans that are putting garbage cans in front of our the NovaCare Center where they go to practice, saying like, you know, like players are bad. So it's like he's responding to the hate that we're getting from a lot of fans. And he also mentioned in a very recent podcast that it was him and another former Eagle. I believe it was, I can't remember who it was at this.
Kevin Byard.
No, it wasn't Kevin Byard. It was a guy. He has been an Eagle for a little while. But regardless, So he was talking to him about the fans booing and like how like it sucks and how it's never a fun time or whatever. And then in the press conference, like Jason Kelce, he said, "Yeah, Stevie Nelson, thank you, Salvador. That's who it was. Thank you." I was like, "Yeah, I drawn a blank." And they're like, "Yeah, dude, it's hard, man. It sucks. Like that fucks up your mental health. Like it's crazy." And then Jason Kelce in his farewell conference, he was like, when the fans boo you, like, blah, 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 like, it's because they care. Like, he pretty much kind of threw a jab at that. Like, it's because we're not playing well. It's because we suck. That we have the right to be booed. Almost kind of, and people were retweeting and tagging Darius Slay, like, hey, Darius, like, take notes. Like, this is why we are. And I'm like, hey, you know what?
It's called constructive criticism.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what?
I had 8 tackles.
I can't even be mad at that. I'm like, Darius, I love you, bro, and I think you're phenomenal. And like, I'm so glad you're an Eagle. You're for sure one of my favorite players to come through Philadelphia. You are, because I like his
Almost a Raven.
I like his personality. I like him as a person. I think he's cool. I've met his wife at tailgates. I mean, just cool ass dude, cool ass little, little family, whatever. But like that was like a kind of like a last, hey, and I'm leaving. I'm letting you all know, fix this shit. Because how you guys are is not the way that I would represent this team. And like I told you guys before, he is Mr. Accountable. He's not going to make an excuse for shit. He can have a phenomenal game with 9 pancakes. And if we lose, he's going to say he should have did better. He could have did better. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to say that was major for me. That stood out like a sore thumb because I think we needed to hear that, because we just lost arguably one of the greatest leaders to ever go through any NFL team by far. And Philadelphia, I mean, you have a decision to make here. Those are some gigantic shoes to fill. Whether even if he was on the decline, which he wasn't, to have a leader like that to where the entire team respects him, doesn't question him, the coaches respect him. The city will die for this man. We have some big shoes to fill. It's just that simple. So from me and probably some of the other Eagles fans, I'm sure Kevin could probably agree. It's been a fun run. We will definitely miss him. And I just pray to God that that last little, jab that he put out there in that press conference is a kick in the ass for the team, because we can't go backwards. We cannot stray away from the Jason Kelce type mentality moving forward. It's not Philadelphia. It's not. So we have to find a way for a guy. God damn it, Toddy. We got to find a way for a God damn it, bro. We got to find a way for somebody to step up and to be that new Jason Kelce. And I tweeted earlier, I think it's going to be a guy like Jordan Mailata, who is obsessed with Jalen Hurts. He respects and absolutely loves Jason Kelce, and he wants to win as much as anybody on this team. So, just farewell to just Jason Kelce, and it's been fun, but all good things must come to an end. So.
And the Shrek meme is a prime example of why you need to tune in, whether if it be on YouTube, X, or Instagram Live. We're back again on Instagram Live this week after technical difficulties last week. But the Shrek meme is exactly why you need to tune in live. It's because those are the video exclusives that the audio-only listeners miss out on. And Kaz, before we move on from Philly completely, I did want to read one quote to you and get your thoughts on this. And this is a former Philadelphia professional athlete who spoke on the city. And this is JJ Redick, former Philadelphia 76ers player, because my friend Matthew, who is one of the most diehard Eagles fans and Philly fans that I know, he sent me this tweet a while back, and I just found it so I could read it to you. But JJ Redick said, "No offense to other cities, but Philadelphia is the best sports city in America. It's a special place to play. It's a special fan base, although it's very intense." How do you feel about that, Kaz? Because that kind of touches on what we were talking about with Big Play Slay.
Yeah. I mean, he hit the nail right on the head. Again, I'm not a Philly native. I live in the Midwest. So for those of you out there thinking I'm from Philadelphia, I am not. Just a diehard Eagles fan, and I go to a lot of games. But I've been to Philadelphia a handful of times, and I'll tell you this right now. I think it's absolutely true. I've been a part of a lot of teams in my life. I've been to other games that don't involve the Eagles at the professional level. There is nothing like that, just that city on game day. It's crazy. To win and to be a Philadelphia native or just a fan of Philadelphia teams it's a party, man. It's a party everywhere, but in Philadelphia, no, it's a party. It is a huge deal that the city of Philadelphia, they don't play around with their sports, man. And it's a good thing. It makes the experience, especially being a fan of Philadelphia sports, or just even if you're an Eagles fan, it just makes the experience just that much more just enjoyable. I've been to California. I've been to games in the Midwest. I've been to Texas. I've went and watched my Eagles play everywhere. It's just not the same. Even when we win, it's just not the same. But in that city, it is like night and day difference. Honestly, I'm not even surprised, or I'm surprised that a lot of fans like that of opposing teams don't enjoy it, because there's the whole propaganda that if you go to Philadelphia, that's not true. It's not true. There's bad fans everywhere. I'm telling you guys right now, there's bad fans everywhere. I haven't seen anybody getting drug on the streets through Philadelphia after, we beat the Cowboys, or we beat, what I'm saying? Like when we beat you guys last year or 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game, it wasn't bad. We were kicking it with 49er fans. In my tailgate videos on my YouTube, there's 49er fans everywhere hanging out. It is just a fun time. It really
We're
is.
also hanging out this year.
Yeah, that's cool. It's, what I'm saying? It's just a little bit of, what I'm saying? Look, check it out. Yep. Gotta do it to him. So,
and for the audio only listeners, I was just showing a video of like a little 10-year-old Eagles fan walking up to a Bills fan, acting like he was going to give him a handshake. Instead of giving him a handshake, he gave him the bird, because they are the birds.
Yep, exactly. So I agree 100% with JJ Redick. It is probably, I would guess, without me being in every state, seeing every team and how they get down, the best sports city in the United States. I mean, it is different. I mean, the cityscape will be midnight green or Kelly green on game day. The entire city is backing this team, not just football fans. The entire city, everybody. Okay, I'm talking where the sports complex are located. They're all right there. You got the Phillies, you got the Flyers, okay, you got the 76ers, and you got the Eagles. And they're all within walking distance. And that place is jumping and packed. And every last door is open in all these buildings for people to tailgate in and party in and do God knows what in, right? I haven't seen anything like it before. I haven't. So I would definitely agree with JJ Redick, man. That if you are willing to go to Philadelphia as an athlete or a fan, and you want to have like a good experience, just treat that team like they're your actual brothers. And I believe Jason Kelce said that too. It's like either Jason Kelce said it or somebody else said it, but it's like, I believe Kelce said it, yeah, in his farewell speech. I think he said, like, treat them not like fans, like they're your brothers. Okay, the fans are your brothers. Like they care just as much as you do. They don't care about your paycheck. They don't care about, and they want to see effort, and it goes that way for the entirety of Philadelphia sports. So I 110% agree with JJ Redick for sure. It's different, and this is coming from somebody who's not even from there. I've just experienced it a few times.
Toddy and I, we absolutely love honest Eagles fans, just like Kaz and Matthew and Rakeem and also Salvador, who says, I mean, we did go back, Kaz, LOL. It sucks to say, but we had a huge decline at 10-1. We'll be fine, though. As Sal points out, it is going to be a new season. And just to close out the Philly segment here, Rakeem says, Philly fans can get rowdy, though. Only team who had a built-in jail under the stadium, and we threw snowballs at Santa. And then, obviously, our resident Cowboys fan, Uncle Manny, says, the built-in jail. Well, and those, in Kaz, those are the type of narratives and, like, something that might be, like, have a little bit of element of truth to it that people take and just run with it and just create a narrative when it comes to Philly fans. Because even from an outsider's perspective, I agree that I don't know if I agree with JJ to say that Philadelphia fans are the best fan base in sports, period. But to me, they are top 5, and I feel like we can all agree that they're top 5. And that's Toddy said it, not me. But anyways, as we move on here on episode number 84 of Stats Over Politics, Sean Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kaz Johnson of KazzyBear TV. Our guys Kevin Dent and Garry Singh are here with us in spirit. As we move on, guys, to another NFL topic, as today's episode, as Toddy foreshadowed in the opening, today's episode is very NFL heavy, as last week we were going to talk about Russell Wilson's comments on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall when he said, over the next 5 years, I want to win 2 Super Bowls. I love the city, being Denver, and everything else, but you also want to be at a place that wants you to. Then the news comes out today that the Denver Broncos are planning to release Russell Wilson. I believe it's on like March 13th or whatever, before the cap hit.
The league year, when the league year starts, yeah.
Thank you, Toddy. Right before the league year starts, because The Broncos will take on an NFL record $85 million in dead cap by releasing Russell Wilson, which is the largest dead cap hit in league history. So, Toddy, I want to throw this to you first. As a fan of a team in the NFC West where Russell Wilson resided for a very long time, now he seems to be on his way out of the AFC West. Just how do you feel about this move, not only for Russell Wilson, Jaevon, but also for the Broncos?
Well, it's weird because at the combine, Sean Payton kind of like foreshadowed at it, and when he was like talking in his presser, he was saying like, "Oh yeah, like hopefully the next one's gonna be pretty good." And we're like, "Oh, what do you mean by the next quarterback? You guys have a quarterback under contract right now, and his name is Russell Wilson." But we all understand that kind of when the I Am Athlete interview came out, I was like, "Oh well, that's not good." That's like, whoa, like he's coming out talking about this, saying that they wanted to bench him. And well, we heard his report about they wanted to bench him before. Like there was a report out there. He kind of just validated everything. And they were winning. Like they just won on Monday Night Football. They were trying to get him to like drop his like injury, something like his injury.
I think it was a guarantee. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, injury guarantee. Like he had to play like a certain amount of games. They're like, we want you to like renegotiate that. He's like, I'm not doing that shit. You guys are fucking crazy. And then he got the NFLPA involved. And then once that happened, he was saying like pretty much after that, it was like, oh well, you're starting this week. Like after all of that, they were just like, yeah, you're gonna start this week. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I think that they went on like a 3-game win streak, and it was like they weren't playing.
They beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, they beat the
Chiefs.
They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills on Monday Night Football, and they were like 8-point dogs in that game. It was just like they kind of went on like a crazy run. And Russ was like, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're gonna bench you now. And then it's just like, okay, like this dude, he's been, and like you gotta. This trade when it first went down was like one of the craziest trades that I remember. Like this trade when it happened, I'm pretty sure you guys can probably remember where you were at, like when Russell Wilson got traded from the Seahawks.
I'll pull up the details too.
Yeah, and like Sean mentioned, the cap hit, which was $85 million. The guy who's like in second place to taking like the Falcons when they took the most cap hit for Matt Ryan, it was like $45 million. So it's literally double on how much money that they're going to be taking on now. So I would imagine that this team going forward is going to be extremely young, not really paying anybody because they're going to be paying Russell Wilson, a guy who's not even on their team for, I believe, the next like 2 years or year or however it's kind of his contract is kind of made up. But yeah, you kind of saw Sean Payton and Russ kind of going back and forth a little bit on the sidelines throughout the season. And usually for veteran quarterbacks, you're not really accustomed to seeing something like that. Usually it's younger quarterbacks that a coach will try and chew out publicly, like in front of everybody. And then, you're seeing like reports about Russ having like his own office and this, that, and the third, and just a lot of just weirdness from the start. And I will always mention Monday Night Football. First game Russell played against his old team against the Seahawks. I lost $700 on that game, and it did not. Yeah. I did not feel good about that.
Did you write back though?
Martellus could definitely attend to that.
Brother, $700, my guy.
Yeah,
can I hold $1, man? Damn, I thought I had a betting problem.
We were up that weekend. It was I had a parlay. It was I remember it was Sunday Night Football. We had Tommy over the the Cowboys. And on the second part of the parlay, I was like, there's no way Russell Wilson's gonna lose to Geno Smith, right? Like Geno Smith isn't gonna
no way
on Monday Night Football. And then Russ comes out swinging. He throws a bomb to freaking Jerry Jeudy on like the first drive. I'm like, yeah, let's go beat Seattle. And then the fucking timeout shit, and they try to kick a 64-yard field goal and hook it left, and I'm just like, there's no way. No, I think I was supposed to win $700. So I was supposed to win $700. And I bet like 2 something.
I was gonna say, bro, like,
it's still a big loss.
I was hurt.
Man.
Me and Marcellus went big on Broncos country that week, and Sophia can definitely. Sophia could dedefinitely attest to Broncos country. Like, if you just say Broncos country, Soph will just say, "Let's ride."
Let's ride.
So kind of just going back to the whole spiel about Russell Wilson. Now it's kind of like, all right, well, where is Russ gonna go? I was looking at the odds. I pulled up the odds via DraftKings, and he is minus 200 to go to Garry's Steelers. And that was definitely one of the teams that we kind of talked about a little bit. So the Steelers, the Raiders are another team. Falcons are like plus 400. Then it starts to get crazy. You got Patriots, Vikings, Commanders, and kind of just goes down from there. But the teams that I thought he would end up going to was obviously the Steelers, one of the first teams that I thought. The Falcons would be interesting, but I think the domino to fall first is probably going to be Kirk Cousins, just based on, I feel like his market is a little bit more vast than a Russell Wilson, just based off of what Kirk Cousins' numbers looked like before he went down with the ACL injury. And I don't know if Russell Wilson's market is as big based off of his last 2 years. His film, the last 2 years in Denver wasn't as good as we're kind of accustomed to him seeing. But go ahead,
And
Sean.
I just wanted to interject to also say, what about a Justin Fields? Because Justin Fields is the guy who was also mentioned with the Steelers. And I don't know if I were the Steelers, if I would go after a Russell Wilson who's in his 30s over a Justin Fields. Maybe that's just my Ohio State bias, but could you give us your thoughts on that?
Even with Justin Fields, I feel like his market is very short. It's not as big as well because his film isn't the greatest. He's just very athletic and very young, not very accurate. Now Russ has kind of been known for having, great deep ball accuracy, but like I said, his film the last couple of years hasn't been up to par on what we've, kind of been accustomed to him seeing. And a lot of that has also been on, his legs being able to like kind of run around and extend plays as well. So, he said he wants to win 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. I would bet the under on that. So if I could put some money down somewhere, but him going to the Steelers wouldn't be crazy. A lot of people were saying he might sign for the fucking minimum, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, you can't get like $10 million maybe at least. What was Mitch getting last year? So going back to where he should go, it's leaning like he's going to go to the Steelers. And I feel like that would definitely kind of shake things up, especially in that division. I think the Steelers have a hell of a roster. We kind of came on and said pretty much it's the quarterback. Like, their defense is top tier, even though Kev likes to call it the JV defense. I still think that
can't get over week 1.
They got a bunch of dudes on offense. They got Najee Harris. The other running back that I kind of blank out on his name. They have obviously George Pickens and Deontay Johnson.
Jalen Warren.
Warren, who's the kind of like the speedy running back that they have, like create plays out of the backfield. So, and they just hired your boy Artie Smith.
Whose boy? Who's?
Gary's boy.
Okay, now he's Gary's boy.
Artie Smith. So, we'll see where. I'm talking like he got signed already, but we'll kind of see like what the market will kind of look like. But I feel like people are going to wait on what Kirk's going to do, the Justin Fields trade to happen, because apparently at the combine that was kind of the talk of the town is that Justin Fields is going to get traded, Caleb Williams is going to go one. So a lot of dominoes are going to have to fall in place. But and then if Kirk leaves Minnesota, could that open the door for Russell Wilson to go to Minnesota? So a lot of dominoes have to fall for, things to happen. And it kind of depends on, where people are going to want to draft, and do they just want to have a young quarterback going forward?
Well, I will just say as the host that I greatly appreciate when our audience engages with us on YouTube, X, and Instagram, because a lot of the times they end up providing us with the perfect segues and talking points. Because before we get Kaz's thoughts on Russell Wilson being cut by the Broncos, Rakeem says, sheesh, way more than Carson Wentz cap hit. That I don't know off the top of my head what Carson Wentz's cap hit was, but I know it's certainly not $85 million. And then Uncle Manny says and Kaz, this is what I want you to respond to. Why would anyone want Wilson at this point? His skills have gone way down. So should any of these teams consider taking a flyer on him, Kaz?
I actually agree. Wait, you said Manny's a Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying I'm gonna hold my words. But no, I actually agree with you, Manny. Why should any of these teams want Wilson? I have said this last year. So it was 2 years ago, right? He had the down year with Denver. And I was out there. And I'm like, okay, you were supposed to be Russell Wilson, dog. I'm not making no excuse for you, man. You've been to what, 2 Super Bowls, right? You got one, been to 2. Okay.
Yep.
You have been in my, adult life, a top 10 quarterback since like ever. I mean, you've always been up there. You're supposed to be in your prime year still. Quarterbacks don't peak at, 34, 35, 36. Quarterbacks play, they think play till 38, 39. We see it every year, you know what I'm saying, with these older guys. Look at Flacco coming back, you know what I'm saying? Tom Brady won his 40s, and every other quarterback before Russell Wilson playing at an elite level into the mid-30s. So when you're that experienced, you don't get an excuse from me. You just don't. You didn't go to a terrible team. You had 2 receivers that are good. Cortland Sutton, you had Jerry Jeudy. You had Javonte Williams in the backfield. You can only blame so much on other things. I'm sorry. If you're truly elite, you can only blame so many other elements. It's not like you went to the Panthers, okay? And it's like, bro, what I got to work with? You know what I'm saying? That's not the case. So I do agree with Manny. Now, I do think that if it's at like a league minimum or something like that or whatever, like, yes, didn't pick up Russell Wilson because he can go to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is an upgrade. It is. I actually was like, yo, he wouldn't be bad on a team like the Commanders. But I looked at the odds. I'm like, they're like plus 2,000. I'm like, why are they not a little higher than that? I saw the Patriots I think they were plus 400, I believe, for the Patriots. And I'm like, Russell Wilson as an individual, he kind of fits the Patriots quarterback type, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like the Patriots and Patriots fans, they have a kind of quarterback that they want. Like, they tried it with Cam Newton. Cam Newton was just a little too different, if you know what I mean. So Cam Newton ain't the Patriot way, but Russell Wilson seems like he'd be more so down for the Patriot way. I think that would make sense. I think the team that does make the most sense is the Steelers, which is why they're favored to get them. But I think the Commanders should be a close call, honestly. I think that would make perfect sense.
Commanders are drafting 2, though. So that's why I feel like they would rather go the young quarterback route.
Again, it depends on how much they can get for us. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to get a veteran and you have a team now? You have Terry McLaurin, you have Jahan Dotson, you have that backfield with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Like, you can have a squad, dog. Who's they're tied into that had a pretty good season too?
Logan Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. You want a young guy to come in here and, you know what I'm saying, to get lucky and maybe figure it out and maybe be ready for the speed of the NFL, because we know that's the biggest thing when it comes to quarterbacks is adjusting to the speed of the NFL and also reading real defenses versus just being a superstar in college and then coming to NFL and it just so happened to work. So I think that the odds for him to go to Commanders should be a little bit lower, or, you know what I'm saying, or higher, than they are. That's all I'm saying. So I do agree with Manny, though. I think that no team should spend any top dollar on Russell Wilson. Hell no. But I think he does deserve to be on a team for sure. I don't think that he's a top 32 quarterback. Okay. That's enough to be on a goddamn team. You know what I mean? So I don't want him I don't want any team in the NFC East to get better. And if he goes to the Commanders, they're going to get better. So I don't want him to go there, but if he went there, I think that makes the most sense second to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just that simple.
I'm really glad, Kaz, that you brought up the Commanders and the Patriots, because it just seems like, as Toddy pointed out, it seems like everyone is just thinking it's a given that quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. But like, have we forgotten about the transcendent talent that Toddy doesn't even think is the best wide receiver in this draft? But Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out of the Ohio State University. If he got drafted by the football team, it's still hard for me to call them the Commanders. But if he got drafted by Washington, that would be not 1, not 2, but 3 wideouts on one team from the Ohio State University. Because You got scary Terry McLaurin. You got Curtis Samuel, who everyone forgets about in the slot, but he puts up numbers.
Yeah.
And then you got a game changer, a generational talent in a Marvin Harrison Jr. Toddy, tell me why I'm wrong and why the Commanders should go with a quarterback like a Drake May, who's an unproven guy, or even a Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman. Why should the Commanders go with one of those rookies rather than getting a playmaker and bringing in a veteran quarterback?
Well, absolutely. That's why a lot of people don't even realize that the whole Commanders like front office has changed. They got a new owner. They hired our assistant GM and Adam Peters. So the Commanders are going to be in good hands for the time coming. As far as them, they got a hefty draft pick. So another thing that they could do, Shaun, is if they do go that route and draft a Marvin Harrison Jr., as Shaun already alluded to, I don't think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best receiver in this draft.
Who is?
I think it's Malik Neighbors. I've said that. I've been pretty consistent on that occasionally.
You have.
He had better numbers in college or his last year. He should have won the Blitnikoff over Marvin Harrison Jr., but that's neither here nor there. So another thing that they could do is they could trade down. So they could trade their pick. They could trade. So there are two. I think they're selecting two, correct? So what they could do is they could take that draft pick 2, probably trade down to like maybe whoever wants to move up and drop the quarterback. I would assume that they would still be in the top 10. And what they could do is they could probably get a pick swap for that draft and probably get like a second round or a third round pick and draft.
Shoot, even another first. Think about all the compensation that teams have gotten in recent years just for moving down in the first round.
They could get another first and essentially have 2 first round picks for that draft. And what they could do is they could select a guy like a Malik Neighbors and just go for more depth, maybe get an offensive lineman, and maybe pick another quarterback or maybe like a JJ McCarthy or something like that, or like what Shaun was saying. They could just get more depth. They could go and get a guy like a Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze, somebody who's still projected to go probably like in the top 12, 15-ish. Get one of those type of receivers and get a guy like a Russell Wilson on a cheap contract and kind of just rock out with all of those guys there with all the first round talent that they'll have and more draft compensation that they'll have for trading that number 2 pick. But what I'm assuming is going to happen is the Commanders are most likely going to select a young quarterback, and kind of start that rookie contract clock with a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May, kind of whichever way that they're leaning. But right now, and they have they have a new head coach in Dan Quinn, somebody that Kaz is very familiar with from him being, playing against him twice a year. And they also hired a guy in Cliff Kingsbury as well, too, to be the offensive coordinator. So that kind of, duo of having a guy and the head coach being a guy who's basically going to call plays on the offense, and Cliff's going to kind of just, control the defense. Kind of like how it was in Atlanta when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons that year that they went to the Super Bowl. We'll see where that goes, but I think Adam Peters is going to, make the right decision. I trust in him to, whether it is getting a young quarterback on a rookie deal or kind of go out and look for a quarterback in free agency too. So trusting those guys to make the right decisions, but there's a lot. There's a lot of crazy moving parts. I even saw some. We'll probably get into it when we start talking more about free agency and draft stuff. But I saw a crazy stat that somebody, if Kirk Cousins were to leave, a guy that no one's really talking about that I saw I think it was Rich Eisen, he was talking about on his show, saying that a lot of he's hearing rumors because he was at the combine that a guy, if Kirk Cousins were to lead, a guy that they would kind of target was Trey Lance. So he's a guy that Dallas kind of just snagged up, and we're kind of seeing, he can, and kind of just stashed him, and he's the third guy over there, but hasn't really gotten a chance to play. So if he goes to Minnesota, that'd be kind of crazy, honestly, and see if he does get a second shot at being a starting guy, and we kind of would see what he'd be able to do.
Toddy, just to answer your question about teams that the Commanders or the Patriots could potentially trade down with in that same top 10 of the first round. You look at number 4, Cardinals got their quarterback because Kyler Murray is established. Chargers at 5, they obviously have their quarterback. The Giants at 6 is the first question mark where it's like, okay, you still have Daniel Jones, but he's coming off a torn ACL. Like, do you really still have Daniel Jones? And that's coming from Danny Dimes' biggest advocate on this podcast, because Kaz, all season I was battling against Toddy, Kevin, and Gary, who were all on the Kenny Pickett train.
My brother, dog. Yeah. I understand there's such thing as hot takes, but come on, man.
Okay, but Kaz, it was a choice between Kenny Pickett or Daniel Jones. I went with Daniel Jones, and I was on the Danny Dimes Island. But as Toddy said, we'll call it a wash. We can give up on all on both of them. But you know, the Giants is the first question mark within the top 10 that could potentially use a new quarterback. Then you have the Titans at 7, whether or not they still believe in Will Levis. The Falcons at 8 are the one team that we have not talked about when it comes to Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. It feels like one of those 3 quarterbacks is going to end up in Atlanta if they don't decide to ultimately draft a quarterback at 8 or move up. And then you have the Chicago Bears at 9, and you got the Jets at 10. So it's interesting. And Kaz, to give us your final thoughts on this Russell Wilson situation, Jonathan poses a great question in the YouTube comments where he asks, was Russell Wilson good or just a part of a good system? Because I really want to hear your thoughts on that, Kaz, because for me as a 49ers fan, I thought that Russell Wilson was going to absolutely torment my life for 2 decades. His first 3 years, he makes it to 2 Super Bowls. Honestly, should have gone back-to-back if they just hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. But that's one of the biggest revisionist history things in NFL history.
I'm going to get that tatted on me.
Man,
I'm gonna get that tatted on me, like right here. Hand the ball off to Marshawn, because I think every NFL fan is still questioning what the fuck you're doing there.
Yeah.
And so, thankfully, as a 49ers fan, I say thankfully they didn't, and they don't go back to back. Russell Wilson and the Legion of Boom has 1 Super Bowl to show for it, which is still impressive because as it's well documented, Toddy and I are still waiting to see our team win one in our lifetime. But a team that looked like they could have been a dynasty and win at least 3 ends up with 1. And so because Russell Wilson seems like he kind of got exposed when he went to Denver, whether if it was with Nathaniel Hackett or Sean Payton, Jonathan Fabian asks, was Russell good or just part of a good system, Kaz?
Russell Wilson was good. You said it best, Sean. You're like, you thought this guy's going to torment you for 10 years. That ain't no system. I remember Russell Wilson. Y'all might have forgot. I remember Russell Wilson.
Oh, I remember.
That was a bad motherfucker, bro. That was a bad motherfucker, dog. And especially when you get him screaming outside the pocket.
Oh, scary.
Hey, he might not be who he once was, but what we're not going to do is disrespect the OG Russ because he was a problem. Like you said, he should have 2 rings back to back. And of course, because of that mishap that we're not going to talk about anymore with Marshawn Lynch, they don't. But the fact of the matter is he got the 2 of them. And that was a long time. He had a very successful career in Seattle. It's not like Seattle was just some powerhouse. Yeah, they had a Legion of Boom, but I mean, like, let's talk about Seattle's wide receivers and running backs outside of Marshawn Lynch throughout the entirety of Russ's career. I mean, who do they even? Tyler Lockett? Who else do they have there at wide receiver? No, I'm talking OG. Yeah.
Curse.
Respect
they had
Baldwin.
Yeah,
Doug Baldwin,
yeah,
Jermaine Curse,
Golden Tate, right? He was there for a little bit. So
yep, Golden Tate. Yep.
But and here's the thing: these are good receivers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he had just trash, but I mean, you're not hearing him have a we'll say like a Justin Jefferson, an AJ Brown, even I would say all those guys are. And this is no disrespect toward Debo, but I mean, like, I don't think any of those guys are even better than Debo Samuel. You know what I mean? Like Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin. I mean, they were good guys.
They were like top 10 guys, is what he's saying. Yeah.
But like Debo, but I would say Debo Samuel was a better just football player. I know that for a fact. Than all those guys. Now, the fact that he had them all, some of them at the same time, like Doug Baldwin and what's his name, Golden Tate. Yes, that's not a bad 1-2 punch. And these guys were some playmakers. But if anybody actually watched Russell Wilson, I mean, that he was phenomenal. I mean, I would get annoyed watching him, and we never even played Seattle really. I'm like, God damn, get this little rat. He's like a mouse. He just gets out of it. He reminded me of like, you guys remember that play of like Carson Wentz against I think it was the Commanders, where like he like gets sacked by like 4 guys and somehow gets out of it. And the Carson Wentz's best play ever. That play. Russ did shit like that on the regular. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm
constantly.
like, dude, how are you not sacked? How did you get away? You're 5'11". What, you know what I'm saying? He was like the Kyler Murray before the Kyler Murray without the speed that Kyler had. You know
Duck
what I mean?
and dodge. That's basically what he do. Duck and dodge.
And it worked for him, and it led him to 2 Super Bowls, and he won one of them. So yeah, no, Russ he was not part of a good system. He had a good defense. I'll give him that. The Legion of Boom was legit, and that definitely helps out. I mean, you guys as Niners fans, I mean, how long have you guys had a good defense for? Quite a few years, right? A couple of years. I mean,
got nothing to show for it.
Nothing to show for it, but you know what I'm saying? You guys got to the big show and almost to the big show 2 years ago. So it's like, that's a good ass team, but we're not going to pretend like Russ didn't do his part. I mean, he was out here putting up numbers. So yeah, definitely don't think Russ was just a part of a good system. I think that he was a really good quarterback, part of a solid team, and for a few of those years had a really good defense. Stick with that. So
yeah, and I will conclude this Russell Wilson segment by just reading quick bullet points from Christian DeAndre on For the Win, who wrote an article that says everything the Broncos got and gave up in their disastrous Russell Wilson trade. So the Broncos got 2 years of the league's 28th best quarterback behind Daniel Jones, just ahead of Gardner Minshew, an 11-19 record in games Wilson started, a 90.9 passer rating, 10.9 points lower than his career average as a Seahawk, $35.4 million in dead salary cap space for 2024, $49.6 million in dead salary cap space for 2025, 0 playoff berths, 0 winning seasons, and it says someone was suspended by the NFL for all of 2023 due to gambling policies. I think that's the guy who got traded with Russell Wilson to Denver from Seattle. Here's what Seattle got in exchange for the league's 28th best quarterback. They got tight end Noah Fant, quarterback Drew Lock, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, offensive tackle Charles Cross, a bunch of guys. There's Devin Witherspoon, who's a corner. He kind of stood out this year. In this, the author put a reason to start Geno Smith, the league's 16th best quarterback over the last 2 seasons. Hey, but he didn't write back. And then but the Seahawks in that time, 2 playoff berths, 0 losing seasons. So, actually, I think that's inaccurate. I think it's 1 playoff berth, but I could be losing track of how many years Russell Wilson has been in Denver. Nevertheless, the Russell Wilson days in Denver are over. To all my family who live out in Boulder, Colorado, who are all Broncos fans, I can no longer roast them anymore, I guess, by saying, let's ride. But, it was the end of an era, and I will remember the Russell Wilson era in Denver by 1 game, and it's because it was the one Broncos game that I went to during that time when it was a Sunday night football game, Week 3, 2022 season in Denver, and I watched the 49ers, led by Jimmy Garoppolo, lose to Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. They lost 11-10. Like, the most disgusting loss ever, and my 49ers suffered that to Russell Wilson's Broncos, and I was there to see it live in person, having my cousin Jillian scream in my face when the Broncos scored at the very end to win the game, and that's my memory of the Russell Wilson era in Denver. As we move on here on episode number 84 of Stats Over Politics, Sean Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy and Kaz Johnson of KazzyBear TV. Kaz, you're live on Twitch right now, right? Is that where people can find you all throughout the week?
Yeah. I'm always live on Twitch, just talking about God knows what. But yeah, on Twitch, everything's KazzyBear TV, YouTube, KazzyBear TV, Twitch, Instagram is KazzyBear TV for football content. And then if you are into fitness, SSJ KazzyBear for my fitness page. So yeah, KazzyBear TV across the board. If you search it, you'll find me somewhere.
Definitely check out his fitness page because Kaz not only posts all the great workout clips of the work that he's putting in, which honestly has helped motivate me on the days that I'm feeling lazy, but also I reposted something that Kaz put on his page. And I don't know if you typed that up yourself or if it was something that you saw that repost. So there you go. Kaz typed up basically an inspirational post towards young athletes. And for me, someone who works for a newspaper in a small town, and high school sports is the sports for the newspaper that I cover. And I reposted that because I have a lot of high school athletes who follow me on my professional page. And I thought about it because I played golf in high school and I didn't maximize my career when it came to my own high school golf career. And so I just hope that a lot of the high school athletes that are out there, whether if they're coached by Kaz or they're covered by my newspaper, I hope that they take the time in their younger years when you still can have that athletic ability and maximize it, because that's something that I failed to do. And just check out Kaz, all of Kaz's content, because he puts a lot of great stuff out there. As we got our final segment here on episode number 84 of Stats Over Politics, is we get to an NFL Combine reaction, because the Combine was this past week in Indianapolis. And Kaz, as a high school track coach, I know that there was something specifically that you wanted to say regarding the Combine.
Yeah. So, who was it? Xavier Worthy breaking the 40-yard dash record at 4.21. I don't think that people understand
how fast.
Matter of fact, I know people understand how fast. Not even just a sub 4.3, sub meaning be going below 4.3. That man is pushing into the sub 4.2. It's right there. Now, because it's 40 yards, the shorter the distance, how to explain this? So the shorter the distance, the harder it is to run faster because you don't have as much, you don't have as much time. So in order to get from a 4.21 to maybe like a 4.19, that's only 0.2 of a second. That's a mile. It's a mile because you're not running that far. But the fact that these athletes continue to just get better and better and better and faster and stronger, and it's insane. That record by John Ross just got broken, and that record was done in 2017. That was what, 7 years ago, right? 6-7 years ago.
Yeah,
so
time flies.
Time does fly. But looking at it from a track and field coach perspective, I want people to understand that is blazing fast. But when you compare football speed to track speed, it is still night and day difference, because a guy by the name of Christian Coleman has ran, I believe it's 4.12. He is he's probably the best starter on the planet. Let me look at it real quick. I got it right here. I know I had it up.
So he's a baseball player?
No, he's an Olympian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Christian Coleman ran a 4.12 official 40-yard, and he claimed to be going 85%. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe he went 85%. But the fact of the matter is that is destroying Xavier Worthy and anybody, and I mean by a lot. But what I will say is this: for those of you who think that, a guy like Christian Coleman is you think why don't you go to the NFL? What I'm saying, you'd be amazing. I mean, you destroy the NFL record in the 40 time. Football speed and track speed is different. When you put the pads on, you put the helmets on, and it comes to not just running linear, which is, from point A to point B, but you have to also be agile. It is a night and day difference. Guys that are track and field athletes do not and cannot, and more often than not, will not make it in the NFL. We had a couple guys like that were really fast, like Javid Best. He had the concussion problem. He got concussions in college at UC. I think he's at Cal, right?
Cal, yeah.
Cal. He had the same issue with Detroit Lions. And then he ended up actually going on to be an Olympian after his NFL career was cut short. Percy Harvin was another guy. It's just crazy to just sit back and watch these guys continue to break these records, and not even just the fast guys. Seeing these linemen, I mean, how are you 300 plus pounds running? Running as fast as me. I'm 180 pounds, and I'm older now, but I'm 180 pounds, and I'm a former track athlete. You're tripling my body. You're 2.5 times my size. Yeah. Running as fast as I am. It is just crazy to witness. I advise anybody who, and I'm going to try my best to focus more on it too, but I advise anybody to seriously to take a look at, just watch the combine carefully and really think about what these guys are doing, because it's going to get broken again. Just like all these high school kids that are out there doing these. I mean, you got kids in layup lines now in 5th grade doing windmills and East Bay dunks. Where does this come? We're watching evolution happen right before our eyes. So just think about what we're about to witness. We're going to see it. We will see a sub 4.2 40 here within the next 5 years. I guarantee it. We're going to see a 4.19 official time. I guarantee it. These guys are freaks of nature, and I didn't really watch a lot of the combine for like, who we're going to draft, things like that, because I don't follow college that much. You guys know that. I don't have a favorite team. I kind of wait for the draft to come around, just kind of see what happens. And then I usually do my research, later on, where I ask some friends about like, hey, like, who's this guy? Apparently the Eagles might go ahead and get this guy. Who is this guy? So I don't really pay too much attention to it, but I catch it and I, watch the 40, watch the bench press, whatever. And that's about it. But I did notice that there's a lot of DBs and a lot of wide receivers coming out of this draft that are freaks of nature. So if your team is you got a high end draft pick and you get one of these DBs or these wide receivers, you're going to be sitting pretty. I mean, that's pretty much it. But yeah, these guys are fast. We're going to continue to watch the NFL get faster and faster. And with that, you're going to see players get smaller and smaller. We've already seen it the past 15 years with linebackers. You got no more Ray Lewis's, no more Brian Urlachers, guys like that. They're done. They wouldn't hang in today's league. It's going to continue on. It's going to be a very fast and agile league moving forward. And we might see more guys like Jason Kelce, where it's like, you're an undersized center. That undersized center, it might become the new norm because they're going to be fast as hell, along with tackles, along with guards, and everybody else. So just be on the lookout for all these fast guys coming out of the draft in future years, because the league is going to be changing before our eyes within the next 5 years. I guarantee it.
Wait, Kaz, so you're saying that even though you live in Iowa, you don't want to be a fan of the Hawkeyes football team that can only score 9 points a game?
Oh my God.
I cheer them on for my guys. Remember, I'm Illinois born and raised.
Gotcha.
Illinois, but I've been a pro fan for a long time, and I just never got deep into college. But I do find myself at times like, I was playing. I'll put a little black and gold on. Why not?
Clark.
Caitlin Clark, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'll cheer for Caitlin Clark. But yeah, it's just never been my cup of tea, but I do enjoy it though. I do enjoy it. But I do want to say for my chat real quick, one of my guys who's a huge college fan, his name is Jaron US, and he's also an Eagles fan as well. He said, I think that the issue is that teams like to double take on combine speed, like their boost a player's stock after already knowing what was super fast. Like Cooper DeJean, for example. So, I mean, again, there's a lot of things to look forward to when it comes to like the 40-yard dash. I mean, because it's not everything, but it's something that it's in the combine for a reason. So it's relevant. Yeah, it really is. So, like I said, just to conclude my little spiel on this, just be on the lookout for the league to just change a lot more. I think we're going to continue to get smaller and smaller size-wise and just faster and faster because speed kills. That's what the old saying goes. So.
Well, Toddy, you have been waiting a very long time for this NFL Combine because apparently, according to Jaevon Toddy, as of about at least a year, maybe 2 years, Caleb Williams has been a top 15 quarterback in the NFL for already 2 years. So now I don't think, you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Caleb Williams really participated in the Combine other than just talking. But he had his back and forth with Jerry Rice's son, his teammate at USC. That was pretty cool. And so just Toddy, what did you think about the NFL Combine? And how did you feel about guys like Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. deciding not to participate in it?
So I think both of those guys, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., are going to have pro days and kind of just
but they can do both.
I think Jaden Daniels is also going to do his pro day too. So I think for the reason why guys like that do pro days instead of going to the combine, they feel like they can control a lot of, it's more of a controlled environment. Whatever throws or routes that they want to run, that they're going to run, they're comfortable with whoever's going to be there in their respective settings. So also heard a story about, or saw a story about Marvin Harrison Jr. and he met with I think he met with like a couple of teams at the combine, and he was basically, asking them like, is there anything that you guys want to see like from me at all? And they were like, nah, you're good. So, I mean, I feel like the best thing is that you can provide as an athlete, going to the draft is obviously the tape. If your tape is, up to par, you really don't have to go to the combine. And I feel like we're going to start seeing that from, a bunch of these top picks, whether it's quarterbacks like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams. All of them are considered to be the top, 3 best guys, and none of them threw at the combine. So for, those guys that are probably going to go later in the rounds, guys that are kind of on the bubble, like we saw Michael Penix throw, JJ McCarthy threw, and then you just see, kind of quarterbacks are going to go into the later rounds, like day 2, day 3 guys, and guys that run the 40 as well. So even like Roma Dunze, I thought he is considered to be like a lottery. Well, he's not a lottery pick. They don't do that in football, but he's going to be like a top like 10, 12 pick. He ran like a 4 or 5. Like he didn't hurt his draft stock at all. I don't think. I thought he performed rather well. And you got guys like Xavier Worthy. Just a tangent on Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, the other, I wouldn't even call him the other receiver, but those guys, they were like dudes at Texas. Both of them ran sub 4.4s. Like 80 Mitchell ran 4.3. And then Xavier Worthy comes and runs a 4.21, which is insane. So both guys pretty fast. But I think both of those guys, I thought both of them would have been like, I think they're first round talents, but it's like this like draft class for receivers is very, very rich. It's very, very top heavy. So once you kind of start going down the line on the receiver, it's like, okay, like, yeah, but when you start going to team need, it's like, do we need like another receiver? And when you're in those later rounds for those guys, they could probably end up getting drafted to a very solid team that may or may need speed on the outside. And I did see kind of before that Xavier Worthy kind of exploded at the combine. The Niners were talking to him. He was one of the guys that the Niners met, and I was like, oh, it's pretty interesting. So, and I've even just going back to just college football and our coverage on college football throughout the year. He's kind of been a guy that I've been talking about, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. Those two guys I've mentioned quite a few times on the podcast before. So I think it's a very rich draft class. Like there's even another guy that I'm kind of interested in, Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, who I think is probably going to be a second round type draft pick, just based off of all the guys that are already there. I thought he had a really good combine as well. Kool-Aid McKinstry is another guy I'm very, very interested in. The Alabama defensive back. I think he could play DB for us, and then we can move Diamador Lenore into the slot. A very athletic guy. Just seems like he just has a nose for the ball and just knows where the ball is going to be. But I have been seeing that a lot of draft classes or mock drafts would have us drafting an offensive lineman. I'm like, we can get an offensive lineman in the second round, or we can go out and get a guy, because I'm seeing a lot of linemen getting released, if I'm not mistaken. So there's probably going to be a bunch of linemen in free agency. We might just go that route. But this, because we haven't had a first round pick like 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So basically, this is Trey Lance. We haven't had a first round.
Thanks, Trey Lance.
So now people are going to say, well, you might have a top 15 pick because you're going to trade IU. Because that's also fair as well. But I do think that the Niners will probably end up re-signing Brandon Ayuk, and we'll probably
that's a good point, though. It's a good point, though, because it makes me think back to the DeForest Buckner trade, where like they had to pay Buckner, they chose not to. They traded him to the Colts. They got a top 15 pick or whatever, and then literally drafted his replacement in Javon Kinlaw, who's been a bit of a bust until this year when Javon Kinlaw finally started to make an impact and avoided injuries and was no longer on Instagram Live only talking to Grant Cohn about his nuts.
Yeah. But I just think this combine was, fairly interesting. We haven't had any trades yet. I think when we traded up, it was like we traded up pretty early. So it was like there was like a month. It was like a month out from the draft.
Yeah, but like still around the end of March versus now we're at the beginning of March.
Right. So, a lot of moving parts here. So, like we already talked about previously in the podcast, quarterbacks are pretty top heavy in this draft, and kind of what happens in free agency is going to determine a lot of other moving parts on which direction teams are going to go based off of this free agency. And some people might even wait on draft night too. They might take it all the way down that way just to see, where they will stand and what their team's going to do. Like once upon a time, I thought the Niners were going to trade for Aaron Rodgers on draft night for the number 3 overall pick.
What a day! What a day!
That story came out. I think it was like the day of the draft, and I was like, "What?"
Mm-hmm. I remember watching NFL Live and just watching shit hit the fan.
And then Aaron Rodgers was like, "Yeah, I thought I was going to the Niners," and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then we're like, "No, we got Trey Lance," and obviously we saw where that went, but that's neither here nor there. But Kaz, is there a guy that you're kind of in love with in the draft, or is there somebody? Is there like a dream scenario, something that you guys, that Eagle fans, want to draft, or is there anybody that you guys are kind of eyeing, either whether it's free agency or is it in the draft?
Yeah, actually, so like I mentioned already, you guys know I'm not the most knowledgeable in college, but I was just messaging or tweeting at my guy Ian on Twitter. He's actually matter of fact, he's gonna talk for me right now. He's in my chat right now. So he says Eagles trying to trade for a number 2 overall to get Zach Wilson. Laugh my ass off. We tried that.
No way. There's no way you guys tried to do that. It's crazy.
And then my boy Hedrick, he says, like I said, I know him in real life. He's like you said, I don't think non-athletes understand how freaky these guys are nowadays, which is facts. But Ian says Quinyon Mitchell is who we need to go for.
Quinyon
so Mitchell. Is it Quinyon? Is that how you say it? Quinyon?
Yeah. He's a baller.
So I actually, like I told you, I don't know much about college guys. I kind of wait and see, and then usually when they get drafted, I'm like, all right, who the hell is this guy? Let me look at some tape real quick, because it's like when Howie,
that guy.
Yeah, when Howie makes a decision on who we drafting, I don't care who. I mean,
he's like a bigger DB. He's like 6'3". He's from Toledo.
Yeah,
they're trying to kind of compare him to Richard Sherman.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, whoever Howie's gonna draft, he's gonna draft. I'll find out what I need to know about these guys. I got, a good 3.5, 4 months, or not even that, about 3.5 months for the season starts. I got that much time to look at film and find out who the hell this guy is. So
preseason, you get to see all that, and OTAs and all that shit.
Yeah. So I just know that we need to attack the secondary. Just make it make sense. So I don't really know who exactly, by name, but I know. Shit, what are we like? What are we picking?
Probably like 25, 26.
Yeah, I'll say we mid-20s somewhere. After this season, bro, you think I've been paying attention? You think I cared about anything? I knew he wasn't top 10 pick. That's all I knew.
22.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's better than we thought. 22.
Yeah, 22. So, anyways, I was like, yo, give me a stud corner, dog, please. And if you're not gonna do that, if there's a linebacker that exists, that's phenomenal. Get him. And if not. If not,
he might be gone by the time.
That's what I'm saying. If not,
he's the dude that ran like a 4.4, the linebacker from Penn State.
I think I saw that clip. If not, get the best safety available. That's all I care about, because we can't do this shit that we've been doing this all season long without DBs, dog. We're it's not looking good, and we need them. So that's what I said to my boy Ian on Twitter, and that's when he's like, "Nah, man, we need to go get this guy if he's available." So, and then I know he's gonna do a mock draft here soon, and I'm gonna link up with him, and he's gonna kind of go through some more things, dive in deeper into the Eagles and who we should go for, whatever. But I just want a DB. Give me a DB, make it make sense. I'm an eye test guy. I need to see it in the league first. I can care less about combine and because I've gone through that. We drafted fucking Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, okay? Because he was supposed to be this guy and all this shit. And I'm like, dude, that's why I can't follow this shit, man. I can't get all high and mighty on this draft shit when I have had time after time again as an Eagles fan. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
I had no idea what Jalen Reagor was, by the way.
Who the hell is JJ Arcega-Whiteside? Who the fuck is he? Apparently he's better than DK Metcalf. We passed him on DK and got him. You see, I can't. So I think that if the Eagles drafted better, saying like by the masses. We got some guys, we got like Jason Kelce and things like. I'm talking like top draft picks.
Y'all drafted Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy.
And that's probably about the only, and then that's about the only one I can say right now. I'm like, yes,
we got right.
yes.
Devontae
Smith panned out, thank God, because you know what, Jordan Davis, he's great and all, but I mean, we got Jalen Carter obviously too as well. You know what I'm saying? We can't count that guy out, but like we got Jordan Davis at like what?
That was a steal though.
Yeah, at like pick number 13 or whatever, something like that. If I can't really remember exactly, but whatever. And I'm like, okay, Jordan Davis, big ass dude from Georgia, this got to work out, and he's been solid. That's being general. He's been solid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can't get excited for stuff like the draft as an Eagles fan. I need to see it first. So I always ask my homies that watch college, like, yo, like, who the hell is this guy? So all I know is Philadelphia, go out there, get the best goddamn cornerback that's remaining, because James Bradbury, he ain't it. Avonte Maddox, we need for that guy to stay healthy. We got young guys like who we got? We got Ringo, we got Eli Ricks. These guys can find a solid spot on the team, but it's like we need a for sure stud, because if we don't get a for sure stud,
corners, Quinyon Mitchell, like your boy was saying, is really good. There's this white dude from
Iowa. Yeah, Iowa. Everybody around here go crazy about him. They all love him. Yeah. They nuts about him.
He's projected to be the number 1 corner off the board.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, that's crazy, bro. Hey, that happens. If that happens, I gotta see homie play, bro, in the league, man.
And then there's this guy, Nate Wiggins. He ran like a sub 4.4 at the combine. He's the Clemson DB. He's pretty good too.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So DeGene Cooper is the white guy. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's who. That's who he wanted. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, he returns punts too.
Okay. But yeah, so all I know is everybody around here, I hear it at the school I coach at, because they're all Iowa crazy. I hear it everywhere. It's like, this guy is going to be the great white hope to go into the league and shut all the narratives down about white cornerbacks. I'm like, I want to see it. I would love to. I love anarchy. I want to see it. I'm here for it. So as long as Philadelphia gets a stud corner and make it make sense, I'm happy there. So that's all I'm looking forward to.
Man, it's hilarious to me that
Shaun, is there anybody that you're interested in, that you're kind of looking at, that you're like, hey, I kind of want this guy, or is it you're kind of just hoping for the best?
I'm hoping for the best. I'm in the same boat as Kaz. Thank you for asking, but I'm in the same boat as Kaz, where I learned on a much smaller scale with the NBA and the Sacramento Kings being in the draft lottery year after year after year for like a solid 10 years straight. I was invested in every single prospect that could be anywhere near the Kings picking, and I would learn about all these guys. I'd get my hopes up for some of these guys. And then the 49ers or the Kings just wouldn't pick them. And then they'd go off somewhere else. And then I'd either see them succeed elsewhere and just think like Rakeem is thinking with the Eagles, where Rakeem says the amount of talent that could have been on this team if Howie drafted right. Like, that's how I felt about the Kings for so many years. Whether if it be basically everyone in the Warriors' big three with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, all the great players that the Kings passed on. And I wasn't a guy who was locked in on Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was in the draft. I'm not Mr. Basketball Mind over here. But the point is that for so many years, I invested so much time and energy into these prospects, all for the Kings to ultimately not pick who I wanted. And I did that with the 49ers as well. Like, I have definitive memories to 2016 thinking that the 49ers could draft Jared Goff at number 7. Then he ends up going, the hype train builds up. He ends up going number 1 to the Rams. 49ers get Eric Armstead at number 7, which I ultimately loved because he's a guy from Sacramento. And he does so many great things for our community and also for the 49ers. But yeah, I'm just hoping for the best. We'll see what happens when it comes to the draft. I'm the ultimate casual right now, but do you have other guys that really are standing out to you, Toddy, that you hope the Niners could land at 31?
Yeah, like I was saying, so Kool-Aid McKinstry was a guy, the DB from Alabama. They have another DB out, Terrion Arnold, who I thought both corners are probably going to go top 20 in my opinion.
Well, that was the main question that I wanted to follow up with, because I know that you're talking about guys that you like, but who realistically might be available for the Niners at 31?
Xavier Worthy's a guy. Even though he ran a 4.21, he's still a guy that could be available late first, because we're the second to last pick, as Marcellus, who fresh off of his trip. But this guy just went to Greece, by the way, so he's fresh. He's living like a European basketball player, but that's neither
jet lag and everything. But Marcellus made it.
But I like I said, Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like Xavier Worthy. Troy Franklin out of Oregon is another guy who I was kind of looking at. I think can be a guy for us. I saw Joe Alt could be a guy. I think he's the Notre Dame tackle that I saw could be a guy for us. I kind of want to get a DB or a receiver. That's what I think we need. I think we need.
I want a receiver.
I think we need speed on the outside. Whether we
can't pay everyone, so that's why I want another receiver. As much as I love BA, like maybe they find a way to make it work, but eventually you can't pay.
We're still not paying Brock anything. That's why I feel like we could get another receiver.
That's true.
That's
true.
But I feel like I would not be. I kind of want Kool-Aid McKinstry. I kind of want him out of Alabama, just so we can have another corner on the outside. Like I know Diamador Lenore played well, but I feel like that could kind of like solidify our secondary. Have him on the outside and have Demo play slot or be our nickel corner. So that's kind of either a receiver or a corner. To be honest, I feel like we should draft, but I feel like we're going to get a couple of gems in this draft, like in the second and third round, because we're kind of notorious for getting guys like that.
John Lynch is good at that.
In the third, fourth, fifth round, like those second, ththird day picks end up, like Jawan Jennings, a 7th round pick.
Right. Third and Jawan.
Brock Purdy, 7th, last pick of the draft. Like
Jawan Jennings might be y'all best wide receiver, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, man.
Oh my God. Yeah. So we're not.
All right. Well. Yeah. Well, I guess we just heard Kaz's final thoughts as we get out of here for episode number 84 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats Over Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there. And make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned into episode number 84 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Garry Singh, and Kaz Johnson of KazzyBear TV, I'm your host, Sean Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics.